The hallmark of a Singaporean composer is somebody that recognizes where they belong, but yet at the same time also looking forward and being daring to explore and try out new things.
The uniqueness of Singaporean music stems from the unique combinations of the various cultures that we have here. On the broader scale, we have the Chinese, Malay archipelago, and Indian, and also the Western influences, classical to jazz to pop. Rather, we can think of Singapore as a global city with influences from all over the world. All these are nutrients that feed the growth of a composer.
I think everywhere, it's not only Singapore, unique is in its originality. If you're not original, then how can that be unique? I can copy an artist, or I can copy a composer, but I can't sound like that composer. I'm unique in my own way.
Dr. Tang is unable to speak today because he has suffered a stroke. As such, he has given me some pointers and I would speak on behalf of him. Dr. Tang actually believes that there's no sound that is set in stone that actually represents Singapore or a Singaporean sound. It needs to always be a hybridity. It is changing, it is constantly evolving. We as musicians, composers and people in the creative field should have the courage to actually push forward to see what new types of sounds or what new types of ways in which you can actually look at music and sound as well, or our Singaporean identity. In 2010, we commissioned Dr. Kelly Tang to write a piece for TENG at the Youth Olympic Games. And Dr. Tang actually wrote for us this piece called Kallang Uproar. And we have not really actually performed that piece since. We thought that this piece would actually be really befitting to actually celebrate our 20th anniversary as well.
When Sam told me about this and I first heard the piece, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to destroy Dr. Kelly's work. How am I going to do justice? It already sounds so complete in itself, you know. So what more can I do?
And the harmonic language was actually very distinct.
Yeah, it had that idea of youth, sense of adventure, you know, that excitement. I toyed with the idea of, you know, all these football matches in Kallang Stadium. So we always kind of associate with like Brazilian football, you know, and samba rhythms. I then had the idea of why don't we incorporate a piece of history, you know, in terms of like trying to find recordings of you know, spectator cheering
in Kallang
itself. So I went to pick up like when YouTube, went to the archives, try and pull out audio recordings.
And I think it kind of gave a whole new perspective, a whole new life to Kallang Uproar.
The western part of this piece deals with the form and the harmony, and the form is in a classical sonata form. However, the Chinese part comes in where you consider the melodies. The fact that they can coexist together is a new height in and of itself.
The piece started out slow, and then it starts building up. It sort of felt like an airplane taking off. It's like an airplane is taxiing, and then it gathers speed, and then it takes off. Then it starts climbing. It's cruising. And then there's turbulence. And then at the end, a triumphant touchdown. That's what I felt about Soaring.
Before I did this piece, what I was lacking in is a deep understanding of Chinese musical style. Because Chinese instruments, all of them are very heterogeneous.
I told him about heterophony in Chinese music. So heterophony is when different instruments play the same melody but in a slightly different way according to the instrument's own capabilities. And then he immediately worked a heterophonic section into his piece, right? So that shows how fast it picks up new ideas.
So if you were to ask me what I would want for them, Nathanel or my students, is to be able to go global with the technology that they have now. They are way ahead than when I was a kid.
The younger composers are very tech-savvy because there's so much information.
Yeah, exactly.
And they've actually seen through so much music.
Yeah.
That they actually internalize more.
Yeah.
And they actually come up with surprising results.
Yeah.
I think every generation of musicians will have their own thinking based on the things that they learn and the things that they experience.
So every composer is different, and every composer has their own unique sound. For the really good ones, you can tell what composer it is just by listening to it, even if you don't know the piece.
So if you hear an unknown piece with mind-boggling mathematics, it's probably Nathanel's.
What a Singaporean composer stands out from compared to the rest is the reminder that, you know, we never forget our roots.
There's a
You know,
heritage component.
Yeah. Remember where you come from, remember your, you know, where you belong, you know, remember your upbringing.
Many young Singaporeans are not very familiar, or they do not know who all these pioneers of Singapore's music scene are. The Singaporean composer is a multifaceted and a multivariate one. It doesn't belong to only one genre, and the Singaporean composer actually can contribute in many different ways. And that we have to give a huge amount of credit to these composers who have led us all along the way. In fact, I think they're part of our nation building.